It's another edition of the ComicCorp podcast. I'm your host, as always, Chad Porto. Joining me, as always, is the glorious co-host himself, Marcus Green. Marcus, how's your day going?
Copacetic. So far, so good.
And joining us from the Netherrealm himself, he's Sub-Zero's caddy, Zachary Tyler Pew Duncan. Zachary, how's it?
Not too bad, and I will tell you this: Sub-Zero has a great handicap.
Yeah, he just freezes the fucking ground, and he plays putt-putt. A lot of holes in one with that guy.
Perfect.
I caddied for Kano. I'm going to tell you this, bit of a cunt.
Well, yeah.
His tip didn't have anything to involve with money. Jokes. So, we are on the last fifth of The Boys. We read what was the non-mini series title? Somewhere out there, something out there.
The Long Ride or something.
The Long Ride, and then we had the miniseries, the Baker, the Butcher, the Baker, and the Candlestick Maker. There were, in fact, no bakers or candlestick makers in this book, though.
There was a baker. His father was a baker.
Well, his father, as he would say, was also a daft cunt. So.
Wow. Yeah, but he says that just about everybody.
To be fair, just about everybody is a daft cunt.
That's true.
By the by, I'm sure you gentlemen both know who Daft Punk are.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying they would have been a lot more marketable if their name was Daft Cunt. Just throwing that one out there. So, in The Long Ride, or The Longest Ride, or The Last Ride, or The Undertaker, whatever we're calling this one, we find out some very disturbing things. Not a lot happens in the plot until the last issue, so we're just going to summarize the first three by saying Huey's finding out some shit. Namely, he's got his doubts about Butcher. Annie's got some doubts about Butcher, even though she's trying to get his name. Like, what did you say his name was? And he's all like, I didn't say his name. Clever little pet. He's figuring it out. He's starting to figure out that maybe Billy knew about Annie all along, and that's why he got told to watch the tape of her doing what she did. Obviously, he knew. He's also starting to realize that Billy's intentionally hiding stuff, keeping things out of the information bracket, namely that Queen May, whatever the hell her name is, and the Legend had a tete-a-tete, if you will. Which I guess, I don't know, gives me hope for the future. I'm at least a solid 6, maybe even a 7 on certain days. And if that little nubby can grab Queen Maeve, like, I don't know, I got a shot. It's all about confidence. We also find out a little bit more about Jack from Jupiter. He likes it in the tailpipe. More power to you, Jack.
And apparently his shtick is that he can become basically invulnerable after he says a word.
Yeah, but not completely invulnerable, because even Jack knows that Homelander will fuck his shit right up. So there's that going on. We got to see some of Billy's less charming qualities in this. He's not a big fan of the trans people. He dismisses them out of hand and refers to them as boys. So, there's that. I don't know if that's Garth Ennis writing through and voicing Billy, or if he's just thinking, well, that's a good way to make Billy look even more repugnant. Because at this point, the shine's off Billy. We know he's not the good guy in the story.
Yeah.
But I do still have some questions.
Even when there was still that kind of illusion to him that he might be the good guy in this, he still kind of treats everyone else as beneath him. Even like he had, I think early on in the series, he had some like the Tech Knight and whatever the wing guy, that arc, he had some words about homosexuals and things.
True. Our boy Huey, on the other hand, is trying to use the appropriate terminology, and Billy brushes him off, saying, "Don't even worry about it." So we still know who the hero of the story is. It's Killer, because he's a good boy. Terror. Sorry. He does both of those though, so I guess they're both accurate. So eventually it's revealed that Jack from Jupiter likes it in the Jupiter. And he goes on a little bit of a psychotic rampage, saying he's going to kill everyone. And, this leads to a kind of a standoff between the Seven and the boys to figure out if the boys had a hand in releasing Jack from Jupiter's videotapes. Homelander decrees that, Billy's not lying, so they take off with Jack. It is still a bit jacked up, if you will, and he's vowing revenge. We end up finding out what that revenge is after a dinner where Huey has enough of Billy's bullshit. Only 2 issues after Huey telling Billy he wants to be his number 2. So, drastic change. They come back from dinner to find poor little Terror no longer alive.
And the saddest part about it is that, Terror really just looked like he was just sleeping. Mm-hmm. But then you saw the little trail of blood coming from underneath him.
There's actually 2 other sad parts about that. One, he looked scared when they left him behind.
They did. He did.
And then you had the female crawled up next to him and just laid there with him for God knows how long. Mm-hmm. Just fucking heartbreaking. The only other really good person in the entire group, the dog, is just now puts. This doesn't sit well with Billy, however. And after Huey, what did say to him? Are you fucking stupid?
You lost your goddamn mind.
It's one thing to antagonize Billy when he's in the right frame of mind, even if he doesn't have a right frame of mind. But to do it after the only thing he currently loves dies, that ain't good. So we find probably the most violent scene in the entire series, but it wasn't really that graphic, even though there was some blood and guts, quite literally. It wasn't what you saw, but what everything else was going around him was. Like, I think Enos goes gore for the sake of gore, but I actually thought that this would have played well in a very mainstream movie had they done this outside of the context of the series. Billy finds Jack at the trans whorehouse, shoves him against the wall, asks him once, "Why'd you kill my dog?" and then stabs him in the gut. Then he takes the knife out, asks him again, and then stabs him again. At this point, the trans whorehouse pimp, Dr. Strangelove? Peculiar, there it is. Walks in, sees what's happening, closes the door, and doesn't say a damn word. Even though he doesn't talk anyway. And Billy keeps repeating the question, "Why'd you kill my dog? Why'd you kill?" as he's stabbing him. And then you see the shot of Dr. Peculiar outside the room, and you can see the trans whores down the hall. They're crying, and I don't know if it's because they're mortified about what's happening or if they have a sense of relief because Jack allegedly killed one of them to start the arc. So maybe this was their what's the word I'm looking for, Zach? It's closure.
Catharsis?
Yes, both accurate. That might have been their catharsis or their closure for the entire ordeal that they went through with Jack overall. But he stabs him to death very violently, graphically, and in the same spot repeatedly. So, Billy's nothing if not methodical. Marcus, we're going to start with you on the first arc of the tonight's readings, the longest ride with the dead man, under the boneyard arc. What'd you think of the arc of? We're going to call it the Death of Terror arc.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. 2 deaths tonight. I didn't see coming. One on TV and one in this book. But I think as sad as it was, it's a great setup for what was coming in the miniseries
Mm-hmm.
because it goes with what Zach said. Like the only thing, well, I think you said the only thing that he had left that he loved, and now you asking a man, is he effing stupid? So yeah, it's like I said, the perfect setup to spiral it into his backstory, which we're gonna get off into, and it's cool to see, Huey, who made it a fact to get all the facts before he, I guess mustered the balls to finally confront him about something.
Mm-hmm.
Even though because again, he don't have the full story, and I guess that's the point that he, I guess it could be a point of contention between the two of them, because it's like he kind of already knows Huey ain't really made for this, but if he allows him to be in the door enough, he can do what he's good at without getting so far deep that he blows his mind. But now it's like you either give me everything I want to know, or like I'm coming at you or I'm out. And at this point in Billy's things, like the dog's gone, like you're almost expendable at this point as the guy he's killing, almost, because he still cares for him. But at this point, like literally, the dog was the last piece of potential sanity that this man had. So now that that's gone, it's like, you know, coming to we already know the last person he wants to kill on the list. So it's interesting.
Well, I will say this: I've officially finished the series. There is a specific purpose for why Billy brought in Huey, but it's not going to be revealed until the second to last issue or the last issue. So Huey's involvement is very key, and it's in a way that I don't think anyone will actually see coming until it happens. Thackeray, my dear boy. Yes, Thurston Halstall. Wait, what's his name? Thurston Halstall? Halstall?
Thurston Howell?
Thurston Howell. Jesus Christ, I have to have dyslexia. yeah, she's Gilligan, my dear boy. You throw in a little bit of a and you're the penguin. Penguin. Anyway, Zach, thoughts on the arc of the Death of Terror?
It was interesting. Like you said, the last issue of the arc was really the meat of the whole thing. Like the first 3 issues were really just them kind of investigating, and the whole time Billy being like, I don't know if this was Jack, and Huey doing this weird like passive aggressive bullshit of wanting to tell Butcher off, but also wanting to be more involved with what Butcher's doing, and I don't know what to make of Huey at this point, other than he needs to fucking get his shit together. But it was the very end where it's just Butcher as he's killing Jack, repeatedly asking the question. That was actually very good. That I feel like was some of Garth's best writing in the series, because it wasn't, after the first few times he asked the question, when he starts asking, it's like, you can't talk. Why? How you expect an answer? But then you're like, the answer is not the point.
Mm-hmm.
The question, him asking the question, is just him fueling him to just keep going and keep going and keep going, just to make him angrier. And that's as what comes up in the little mini series is something that Billy likes, is just to get angrier and angrier.
My English teacher in me wants to congratulate you on the phrasing of "that's what fueled him," because that's apropos. That's very appropriate there, Zachary. Look, you even earned a real name. Oh, how smashing! Yeah. We also find out
smashing. Yes.
Ray Poupon, don't pass go. Do not collect $100. I miss Bang Card. We do have to address that. Apparently, Homelander's a bigger prick than we ever realized because he essentially it's not it's such a murky gray area how to describe this. It's like whenever someone says like, oh well, that person's a pedophile for sleeping with a 14-year-old. Technically I understand what you're saying, but also technically you're entirely wrong because that's a specific thing. The pedo is a literal prefix that means a certain age range. So I don't want to do that with this, but basically a Homelander got Queen Maeve raped.
Basically.
Now, it's not literally, technically, under the guise of most laws, but it's basically what happened. But also basically not, but I can't explain to you guys why it's not until we get to, this is next arc or the end of the next arc. Then you're going to find out why it's probably technically not, or at least there's going to be some morally gray areas to prosecuting it under such a law. You'll understand when we get there. But he has Black Noir kind of hop in for him because and I don't know how Homelander knows this, but he says we're basically the same size. I don't know how he knows that.
How many people went through the same initiation that Starlight did?
Oh, that's fair.
That's why he doesn't talk?
Because he doesn't need to. God, this book just has so much subtext to it. Oh my God. All right, so in the Butcher, the Baker, and the Candlestick Maker, we finally get to meet Billy's reasoning. It was alluded to earlier in the series, but now we finally have the confirmation. It was his girl, redhead, I forget her name. Becky. Becky is this redheaded Irish slash or British slash or Wales. She's from the Isles, man. I don't give a fuck. She's Wales. I don't care. I don't. Fuck you. Fuck you, England. Six Semper Tyrannis. Never forget 1775. Boston Tea Party bitches. Anyway, so she's basically this calming force in his life after it's revealed that Billy's father's an abusive alcoholic who beat his mother constantly. He's got a little brother who's always constantly trying to get him to not to do the dumb shit. And then he meets Becky and his mom. And they're like, hey, Billy, don't do the dumb shit. And he goes, I got 3 people who love me. I'm going to stop doing all the dumb shit. Among some of the dumb shit that he was doing was getting his ass kicked for free, not even putting up a fight, joining the Royal Marines and killing people and enjoying it, and even saying to his crew that he's there to kill people. So he's a fan of the violence. He's a character straight out of Clockwork Orange. A little fan of the ultra-violence. Becky comes into his life and calms the savage beast, and she even has a great line. Says, you're something. What was it? You're a real man or something like that. And real men have hostility or anger, and it has it comes down to me to temper it, something to that effect. And she goes, what good's a man without a woman? And it is a really nice line, kind of showcasing the natural kind of balance that the genders are supposed to play into one another, that how they're supposed to fill in the gaps that the other one doesn't. And I think that's a really sweet moment. But eventually it's revealed that she got a no fun time plan with the 7. We don't know the particulars with that. It's left pretty ambiguous. In the show, it depicts her as being assaulted by Homelander, but it's very clearly at the end of the series, depicted, or at the end of the first season, to be more consensual than we realize because she's still alive and she still has the kid. But in the comic, it's a little bit more implied that it was forced, and one day, without even realizing she was pregnant, the baby rips through her, killing her, and then, in a pretty graphic display of carnage, Billy beats the newborn infant to death with a lamp. So, we go from having a really sweet kind of moment with Becca, and when we had a very heartfelt tear-jerking moment with Terror, and now we're right back into the nonsense. So, Garth Ennis, everyone. If you don't like where he's going, wait 5 seconds. It'll be completely different. Zach, we'll start with you on this round. What did you think on the Butcher, the Baker, and the Candlestick Maker? which essentially had Billy going to visit his father at his funeral and then pissing on his head when it was over. Billy's got some issues.
I mean, what you just said there was pretty much the main, at least to me, was the main takeaway from this, because like everything that they went in depth about is like someone has already talked about with Billy. So this is like, I will say that this is definitely a better miniseries than Huey's thing, the Highland Laddie that we did last time.
Mm-hmm.
But it, to me, it still didn't need to be 6 issues long, because we it was already discussed that he was in the Royal Marines. We already discussed that Becky was the one that curbed his violent side for a time, and then I guess we didn't actually get the full details of her being raped and the baby popping out of her stomach before she even knew she was pregnant, thus killing her. So there was that. But other than that, it nothing about this really changed my perspective on Billy, especially at the end, right before he pisses on his dead father. He tells him, he says that it seemed like there might have been a little bit of redeeming and redemptionary that, but it's also like he says that he knows that he has his father's evil in him, and I wouldn't say he definitely doesn't like that, but he's also kind of accepted it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't really, while it gave us more information, it didn't really give us any new light to shed on Billy. So
we also found out that Billy's younger brother died in college. He got hit by a bus.
Yes.
I think Billy's exact words were, he was the only one who could calm him down, and now without him, he feels lost, and that there's no one left to stop him because he died right before Becca died.
Yeah.
So, Marcus, thoughts on the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker?
I mean, yeah. I mean, echoing everything you boys said. It was cool to get to see Becca, um, and just see the whole concept of what that looked like. Because in the show, we got to see a tidbit of it in flashbacks, but I don't think, obviously, we didn't go this much in depth into the background of Butcher in the series. So it was cool to get this perspective, and it was really interesting for me seeing exactly why he kind of turned out how he did, because I also watched, before I read this particular miniseries, I watched the Dark Side of the Ring feature, which was basically about New Jack. So the whole effect that a shitty father can have on a kid and how that can turn out was, some interesting similarities there. But besides that, yeah, like Zach said, I don't necessarily know if we needed 6 issues. Although a lot of elements was appreciated, the stuff with his brother, like I said, the stuff with Becca, and just finding out what makes this guy tick. This probably is better than what we got with Huey, although it was far more entertaining, if for nothing else, than the French guy. But yeah, I mean, everything's kind of coming to a head, obviously, with the whole thing with Becca. That was severely effed up. Obviously they pulled back with that in the show. It's a kind of even more intriguing with the show because of how the did this or didn't this happen and that whole stick. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting how they pulled the thing back, and really, Butcher is now, with everything that happened on top of Becky, he really is just this aimed gun, and he's just squarely pointed at the 7, primarily Homelander, who is a very specific brand of, as we know, of effed up himself. So I think the intriguing thing is like just how similar those two are in a lot of ways,
Mm-hmm.
just because what they the stuff that they lack and how they use that lack to kind of turn it into these negative things and then kind of carve out these personalities that they're very high in. And even looking at what you said about Becca being kind of like is conscious in a lot of ways and how that kind of like the woman he needed as opposed to what he got with that I forgot her name, but she kind of plays into his negative impulses, and Becky kind of looked at him and told him to kind of step beyond those negative impulses and do better. So I think that contrast has been interesting. But yeah, everything just kind of makes sense up until this point. And take the dog out of the situation, and hell have no fear like this a-hole right now. Because, yeah, it's about to be a lot more death coming up.
Things are often popping. Now, Marcus, before you had mentioned that you were watching a TV show tonight as well where a character died, what TV show were you watching?
Oh, Station 19 is one of the Shonda Rhimes shows. They did the thing where they played a promo, and you would assume that the people they're like one firefighter will fall or whatever, and they did the main cast, and then somebody completely different died. But that so it made sense, but it was still like I see what you did there, you dude. So yeah, that was it.
That's my least favorite thing in all of things. Well, that and time jumps for unnecessary reasons. Oh, we're gonna go 4 days back in the past. Brilliant. Can't wait to see how this is gonna turn out. So let's start with some comic booky news. Apparently, Ezra Miller choked out a fan. That was the thing that happened. Gentlemen, did you hear about this?
I did not. Was it Sal Bandini?
Marcus, did I tell you about the prank I pulled on Zach last week?
No.
Yeah, maybe prank's too strong a word. So we were talking about the Benoit Dark Side of the Ring stuff. By the by, watch the Brawl for All one. Bart Gunn comes off as a real champ. So we're talking about the Benoit of it all, and we're ramping up to the end of this discussion. I go, oh, and they got some other ones coming out. They got one about New Jack, the Brawl for All, and I don't know if you heard about this, Zach, but there was a story that's going to come out on Dark Side of the Ring about a bunch of WCW wrestlers that went to go beat up a trainer back in the day. Have you heard about this? And Zach goes, wait, what? No, I've never heard about it. I'm like, yeah, craziest shit ever. Two guys jumped one of the trainers. I think his name was Sal Bandini. And Zach lost his shit because, of course, Sal Bandini is the trainer who gets jumped in the movie Ready to Rumble, which was produced by WCW. So it was maybe the best joke I've ever told in my life, and it's fantastic, and I love it.
It was a great setup.
Because it was played so well. Like, so much seriousness was went into that. But no, Sal Bandini was not involved in Ezra Miller's incident. The whole thing just comes off as weird. He was at a bar in New York, I think, during the Corona. My Corona. Sorry, that's got to be a thing that happens every week. And apparently he's asking a woman in the video, do you want to fight? And he's kind of laughing, and it looks like the lady's kind of laughing, but then Ezra puts his hand around her throat, grips, and throws her to the ground with him on top, and it all of a sudden got less funny. Well, apparently it says Ezra Miller will not be investigated by police for choking incident, according to CBR.com. I'm not going to click on it because I don't really have much more I want to add one way or another. It is what it is. It looks like Miller's someone who's got a lot of issues to deal with, and this was another one, or maybe the first one. I don't know. Just it's not good though.
Yeah, I saw the video, and of course, the cancel button wasn't far behind from the internet. But yeah, I mean, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, obviously this is a however many second video, not even 10-second video. Not necessarily put in the context. I did not know it was at a bar because it looked like it was at the aisle of a convenience store, how well lit it was.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, between the seriousness once the girl got up on him, and then Choke takes her down, and then the cameraman clearly his tone changes. So I'm hoping once the camera went down, he actually tried to do something and didn't have what I heard somebody say bystander syndrome, and didn't do anything. So yeah, if that is what it went down. Like I said, we don't have any more context than what we saw, and I don't want to be these people these days to instantly, oh God, we gotta kill him, we gotta hang him, we gotta cancel him without context, just for the sake of it. But yeah, if that was exactly what we saw, yeah, he needs to go and get some therapy or something, because that's not cool. And if that was one of us, and that was our girl, he you know he need therapy for something else right now. So you know,
If that was my girl and I saw Ezra Miller choking her out, I wouldn't be standing there recording it. I would do my best Bane interpretation and break him. And believe me, I might be as tall as a small stone, but I'm as powerful as a boulder. So I'll lift that little skinny bitch up and break him across my knee. It wouldn't be hard. Of course, I'm not sure I would do any actual damage because that seems kind of more like movie fiction, the whole breaking over a knee. But I'm gonna find out. I'm a mythbuster that real fast. We'll find out one way or another. I'm with you, Marcus. I'm very much of the mindset that, if you put your hands on somebody, you better have a damn good reason. Miller does not look to have a damn good reason in this situation. But I'm also of the mindset that if he is, in fact, ill mentally, that he needs help. I don't think we need to always punish people with punitive measures if it's not a punitive situation. Miller looks very intoxicated. He didn't seem to be in the right frame of mind. So I'm not going to sit here and say we need to cancel him and hang him up by his feet and beat him with a stick. He's not Mussolini. But I do believe he needs to be held accountable, and he needs to take ownership of his actions because, she was standing there, man. Like, if she was swinging at him, you swing, you get swung on. You don't get any extra protections when you start a fight. She didn't start a fight. She's standing there gobsmacked. She doesn't even say anything. Like, she's shocked what's going on. So I do think Ezra's fully in the wrong. I think the bar's fully in the wrong. Why the hell are you open? 1. 2, who's serving alcohol during this thing? That's stupid. 3, Ezra Miller needs help. So there's that. Zach, any final thoughts on this one? Marcus, any final thoughts on this one?
No, I mean, without, again, like you said, without any more context to it, there's not much else you can do. If she is deciding not to press charges, then that's that. But yeah, Ezra definitely needs to get some shit sorted out.
I concur.
Yep.
Do you concur, Doctor? Why didn't I concur? There's other lines from that movie, but God save me, I don't know. Catch Me If You Can is a wonderful flick, though. I'm looking through the news, and I don't really see anything. Last week we got a bunch of shit. Marcus, we still don't have episode 20 dubbed of My Hero Academia.
yeah, and I finished it.
You finished it with the subs? You brave man.
Yeah. It was epic, but you know how we like to fully immerse ourselves in this stuff. So patiently waiting on the. I don't know what the holdup is. I'm naively assuming, and I may be wrong on this because I don't know exactly how this stuff goes. It feels like they're waiting for like the rest of the season to air on Toonami because that's what it's doing right now. Like I think they may be getting to on Toonami. They may be entering the genteel part or whatnot. So I don't know if they're gonna let it air fully on dubbed on Toonami like they did with Super, and then they release it like one ep at a time like that. But yeah, I'm anxiously waiting for them to go ahead and dub it and release it.
Well, we'll find out because I think there are only 4 episodes out, so we'll find out by the end of the month if there's going to be an episode 20 dub on Toonami. Which, if there is, what's it on at 12:30, 1 in the morning, something like that?
Yeah.
I will postpone GameCorp that week to watch the dub live. I will. Don't even at me. As I look for news to talk about, I want to throw this one at you guys. Zach, we'll start with you. It says here, CBR.com, Daredevil 5 years later, how Netflix's masterpiece redefined Marvel TV. It didn't. Marvel TV died. So I don't know. It didn't. But I want to ask you: do you think Daredevil, which only lasted 3 seasons, 3.5, if you want to count the Defenders, do you think Daredevil was in fact a masterpiece?
Well, being that I didn't actually see more than 1 or 2 episodes, I can't say I have a good opinion on this, other than the fact that, you know, when people talk about masterpiece TV, what's like the first thing that comes to mind is like a Breaking Bad. Everyone calls it a masterpiece. Still have never seen it, but
Sons
everyone
of
talks
Tucson.
about like it's this.
No one else saw Sons of Tucson. Fine.
No.
The OC.
But is anyone still talking about Daredevil, the Netflix show, or Luke Cage, or
That's a good
was
show.
Iron Fist get his own show, or was he just Defenders?
No, he got his own show.
And
Jessica Jones. Is anyone still talking about any of these?
Nope.
Because people still talk about Breaking Bad.
Marcus,
Yeah,
you
I
have
see
thoughts.
some-
I want to hear these thoughts.
Yeah, I see some murmur about Daredevil and stuff over Twitter sometimes. It's funny talking about Daredevil because I just recently rewatched the director's cut of the 2003 movie and found a newfound appreciation for that. I wish they would just release the damn director's cut on the first run of shit, but whatever, that's Hollywood. Yeah, I mean, I think when we talk about just that particular universe of those shows, that was the tier of that um, list of shows, hands down. But perfect, I mean, I guess that's, it's all subjective. But, for us, I think, once you get over the shock and awe of some of the well choreographed fights and stuff, a lot of that stuff does get repetitive. I think they did a great job to cast some great actors who sometimes got saddled in a lot of repetitive and very non-interesting stuff when it came to those characters. And obviously, when we thought it was going to finally come all together in the Defenders, that was probably the worst of, besides the first season of Iron Fist, that was probably the worst of that particular run. But yeah, masterpiece. I think it's a masterpiece compared to everything else that was around it. So
I am going to stand on the hill and say that it's not a masterpiece. Mostly because nothing about it kind of came off as original. The ideas in a show are not always going to be wholly unique. I think someone once said William Shakespeare wrote every type of story there is to write. So the idea that a show is going to have complete original ideas is not something you can actually expect. You can, however, hold on the idea of a unique show that does it in a way that is both rare and fresh, not necessarily new. Daredevil's most defining scene in season 1, Marcus, was what, in your opinion?
stairwell.
Hallway stairwell fight. Zach, you didn't watch it, so you.
Oh,
The one that one of the few scenes I always like, I did see the stairwell fight, but the one that I always liked was Kingpin's Good Samaritan speech in the back of the armored truck.
yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah,
But that hallway stairwell fight where Daredevil goes in to save the kid, literally a shot-for-shot remake. Maybe not literally shot-for-shot, but essentially a shot-for-shot remake of Old Boy, who had a very similar hallway fight. And it was done as an homage. I'm not sitting here saying, well, they ripped it off. It was done as an homage, and that's fine. But when your most relevant part of your most beloved season, number 1, is in fact someone else's grand idea, I'm not going to sit here and give you credit for it. The dialogue was dry. The characters mostly unlikable. Deborah Ann Wolf, whatever her name is, she was one of the rare qualifications or unique takes on a character, but it was mostly because of the fact that she was very attractive and very likable in real life. Had little to do with her character. She wanted to fuck a blind dude. That was basically her entire character type. And then she wanted to fuck the Punisher. And then I don't know what happened in season 3. I stopped watching. And the way they used the Punisher was both great and terrible all at the same time. They grossly underused him, but used him so effectively in the moments he got that it made fans not realize how poorly used and how overly hyped he was when he was only in 5 episodes. Or at least that's how it felt. So I feel like there's a lot of things within that series that did not land, but fans overlook because it's got the Marvel logo on it whenever it starts an episode. It, to me, feels more like Arrow Season 3 than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I think they had a slew of great actors and actresses that come through there. But like I said, that you can get all the best, people in the world, and if they kind of get saddled with a lot of monotonous lines and scenes, it kind of, doesn't always pan out. I think in season 1, it was that hallway fight. Season 2 was that stairwell fight. And then season 3, they did just kind of like the same thing in the hallway, except they did it in the jail thing. So they very much defined it by that in terms of just the marquee fights. And they did some good, cool stuff with Bullseye. And obviously, the brightest spot about Daredevil, why a lot of people tuned in, was because of, get the guy's name, but the man that played Kingpin did a brilliant job.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah.
Vincent, thank you, Zach. Vincent D'Onofrio did a phenomenal job as Kingpin, and even even the Punisher. I think that was done well. Like you said, most of when he was in Daredevil, because they tried to open it up. Obviously, he got his own show. They tried to open it up in Daredevil, and it ended up hurting that season of Daredevil. So, like you said, he had a lot of great moments, but it necessarily didn't pan out in terms of a whole. So, like you said, man, it all came to an end, and I think that's for the best. We're gonna see what's coming up soon, or maybe not soon, because everything's on hold with these Disney Plus shows. See if they can do a better job. I think the one I'm most interested in is talked about before, Falcon and Winter Soldier. I have no expectations for WandaVision. I leave some room to be pleasantly surprised, but not much. But yeah, I get it. People attached to those shows. Netflix was attached to those shows, but I think when you're able to sit back and look at it with an objective eye, specifically when you look at what ended up happening with the damn Defenders, you gotta admit that there was a lot of flawed pieces in that whole thing. So I think masterpieces like Epic and GOAT is probably another one of those overused terms when it comes to a lot of content that we see.
I agree completely. So I sent you guys a video of Hank of the Hill done in an anime style. I haven't watched it yet. I hope it's good. Because that to me is just fucking hilarious. They need to revive that show already. It's so good. I'm scrolling through, and honestly, we've got nothing that really screams noteworthy. So Zach, I'd ask you this: have you watched any more of the Dark Side of the Ring stuff?
I have not. No. I did see that the Brawl for All thing was up there. I might check that out. I'm not sure. I do have a lot of time at home nowadays.
What? No.
Yeah.
How do you have so much free time, Zach?
Well, maybe not free time, but I work from home now most of the time, so I can have something playing in the background if I want to.
What about you, Marcus?
Oh no, I got fully caught up today with the last two. Like I said, that New Jack's came off like a one half biography, and then for the rest of it felt like a horror movie. Um, But I really did dig the brawl for all stuff because about halfway through I'm like, now I'm 100% invested in seeing how all this ends. But it had to do with the way they covered it, and these guys have been doing a phenomenal job. People behind this whole thing of just how they um, deliver and have executed and get these interviews and stuff together, and the music they play in the little ways that they have the shadow people act out certain things. But yeah, the brawl fall was yeah, it was a lot. I mean, you got the Vince Russo cornet of it all, and you got the obviously a lot of key players in the brawl fall, and then you got a little bit of a unfortunate and accidental tragedy in the back half. So yeah, a little bit of everything with that. I think that's probably my favorite this season. Um, obviously, the two-parter with Benoit is a separate thing, and I think they did a phenomenal job with that. But this is probably my favorite. And it's kind of hard to say that because most of this stuff is tragic. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was, yeah. So some of what was revealed in that isn't really all that new. They had Draws, who was part of the Brawl for All, and they documented how D'Lo Brown accidentally paralyzed him on a running powerbomb attempt. I don't know why they put it in there because it literally had nothing to do with the Brawl for All. That happened about a year after the Brawl for All ended. But
Yeah.
it was still interesting, and to have D'Lo Brown on there, it was very heartfelt, very emotional.
Mm.
The one thing that I always kind of found fascinating about the Brawl for All, because even as a kid, I'm like, this Bart Gunn seems like a pretty cool guy. And then he goes and gets jobbed out to Butterbean. And I love how Butterbean basically says, if he just went out there and slugged like he did throughout the tournament, he might have had a chance to beat me. And I'm just like, look at that.
Yeah, he said 50-50.
Yeah. The craziest part, though, is that Vince Russo and Jeff Jarrett would bring Bart Gunn in TNA in 2003. Zach, I don't know if we got that far in our year plus of watching it.
I don't think we did.
But he fought Perry Saturn in basically a one-gloved brawl for all type of match. I don't remember it being any good, but I'm gonna be watching it tonight after the show because I might do a write-up about it. It seemed very fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even funnier than that. I mean, like the whole thing is as much flack as you can give. Because I thought, obviously, there's some great dialogue in this. I think a lot of good stuff came from Cornette. It looked like he was about to, getting emotional there towards the end, specifically about the guy in the wheelchair. What was his name?
Droz.
Dorvik? Draws. Yeah, Draws.
Darren Drozdoff.
Yeah, Darren Drozdoff, and he comes off like a quality guy. Even if his quality of life is, been diminished because of, being paralyzed. But yeah, like for all his faults, you really felt just how much, even if it's been severely misguided at a lot of points, just how much he actually does love the business.
Mm-hmm.
Then you kind of look at Russo, and it kind of all makes sense when you realize that he's based a lot of, his creativeness off of the palette of the way Jerry Springer was presented.
Yep.
With just sitting up there with his damn dog going, I don't see what people are talking about. I'm highly entertained. He's like, wow. But yeah, no, Clarinet had a really great quote. He was like, it pisses me off when people call it fake because that guy's been 20 years and that guy's still paralyzed. Like, maybe choreographed and this, that, and the third, but there's nothing fake about what those guys put their body through and sometimes put other people's body through. And you drop that line talking about what happened with a lot of New Jack stuff is hilarious. But, when Cornell was like, it's not that the business is bad, it's that, a lot of people that's come in and has done, a lot of unfortunate and crappy stuff. And the fact that Russo, with all his, I don't even know how to frame his mentality when it comes to a lot of stuff, but the fact that he saw just how much of a douche JBL was and concocted that whole thing and how that just effed up so many people's lives, and all he wanted to do was see him get knocked on his ass, which he did. And that was enjoyable to a point. And then, of course, they bring it home. Oh, man, I don't want to see how, now knowing everything you know about concussions. Because JBL looked like that bear from Milo and Otis when that ball fell on his head. About that you stumbled out of the shack. But yeah, like all that suffering a lot of those guys went through because this guy had like a revenge plot. And then freaking Cornette. You know, I wish you would have told us how he really felt about Russo because I feel like he held back.
Right? So the other thing to note about Darren Drozdov, Marcus, I think you'd be really interested to know is during a time in 1998, the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal, were repackaged as Road Warriors 2000, and they had Sonny, of all people, as a valet in skimpy outfits. Hooray for us. But also in 1998, they gave them a new member of the Road Warriors, aptly named Road Warrior Puke, or AKA Road Warrior Droz. The reason for the name Puke is because Drozdov has a condition, or I don't know, has is maybe the more preferred terminology now, where he could make himself vomit on command. This was something that Vince McMahon found very enjoyable, and it's part of the reason why Droz was hired in the first place. Because of course it was.
Such good shit.
I think he literally says that. I want to say it was revealed on like the dark side of the ring or behind the curtain, whatever that 1999 movie was that followed The Rock and
Wrestling with Shadows.
No, it was The Rock, Terry Funk, and someone else were being featured. Maybe it was Wrestling with Shadows. But I don't think it was because Wrestling with Shadows was specifically Bret Hart. This was a different documentary.
Yeah,
I think it was like in 98, 99.
Yeah, I think it was like Beyond the Mat or something
Beyond the
like
Ring.
that.
I think is what it was.
And the weirdest thing about the whole thing, and you know, we've talked about this, you know, at length, just about, you know, just how much of a plague Vince has been, how much, you know, he's been touted about helping and improving and whatnot, but it basically got alluded to twice. I mean, even at the end when the guy who was the boxer was like, Bart was like, look, man, you could say it was a bad idea ever, but you know, who came up with it? Right, and then obviously a lot of the flack for this obviously gets with Russo because it was his idea. But even he said, like, look, man, I know the thing was crappy and people was getting hurt and everything, but somebody, specifically one person, could have stopped it at any time. He didn't do it.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, you know, for all the crap that Russo gets, you know, the fish rots from the head, and we all know, you know, the head of this long time stinking fish that's still reeking to this day. So, you know, I don't know if they went out of their way to not put as much thing on Vince because it's easy to go after Russo, but it really does fall back on him, even more so than Russo's.
Well, that brings up an interesting talking point I'm going to bring up here in a second. But I always heard that the hope when this was pitched was that both Shamrock and Severn would be in this and that they would meet in the finals. That was always the hope, or at least that they would have, you know, a fight between the two that they could market on pay-per-view. Because both of these guys were very big draws at the time for the UFC for what the UFC then considered big draws. You know, 60,000 pay-per-views in 1997, 1996, not big money for the UFC today, but for then, they were huge. But the idea was to get Steve Williams over. That was Jim Ross's entire idea. Who knows if that would have worked? I don't think it would have. But the best part about it all, and it would have been fantastic considering who was in it, was that Vince McMahon allegedly wanted the first season or the second season of NXT, when it was a TV show, to feature the return of the Brawl for All. Could you imagine Wade Barrett and Bryan Danielson rolling through bitches? That would have been fantastic. You know, assuming they had MMA gloves and not boxing gloves this time around.
Jesus Christ, that's almost. Yeah, they might as well go ahead and give that trophy to Wade on the onset because his schnoz looks like that for a reason. Like, so, yeah. I mean, it was again, that whole thing ended up being a reminder. Like I said, to me, it all goes back to Vince, just a reminder of how much of a plague the man has been to his own product, stemming all the way back then. I mean, the fact that he literally looked like a child lighting up on Christmas when he gets everything he had on his list from Santa when that guy was throwing up in the front of him.
I mean, literally. If you can find the video of Vince commanding draws to puke. It is one of the most Vince McMahon things you'll ever see, and it wholly demonstrates who he is as a human being and what he thinks is good.
And then even going back then, punishing his talent. Like the guy, it wasn't. He basically ended up getting motivated by locker room crapping on him, because he wasn't supposed to knock out that guy. Or what was the big guy that they was gonna be touting as like the next thing?
Steve Williams, Dr. Death.
Yes, yeah, he knocked out Dr. Death. That wasn't supposed to happen, and then that happened because this was letting new guys go out and see who just knock the hell out of each other. So this guy ends up motivating himself to and beats everybody. Shout out to Papa Shango. That was cool seeing him in some of his youth, but he lucks up, wins the tournament, and the old Coop punish him by sending him to like a professional fighter, like basically sets him up because the guy could have killed him if he wanted to, honestly.
Yeah.
And the fact that he sat home for God knows how long, then got basically fed to the wolves, and then obviously after he took the L, his career was basically over. I mean, that kind of very much reminds you of exactly what happens today, except instead of your career being over, we'll just keep you in catering for a tournament until we forced to let you go and then you get released.
By the by, I sent you gentlemen the video of Vince McMahon telling draws to puke, and it was beyond the mat, Zach. I think you're the one who said it was Matt. So,
Yeah.
Get to see some interesting stuff about the Vinnie Mac. So I think we've padded the show long enough. We got just under an hour. Zach, do you have anything else you want to mention tonight?
No, I'm good.
I think I know what our next series is going to be once we finish The Boys. It's another indie title that kind of is a little over the top, but this one's much more well done, much more, shall we say, tasteful. I'm thinking about going with Why the Last Man. Considering we're in the middle of a contagion, the series is about a disease that kills all male creatures in the entire world. I feel it's apropos. I've actually already read it once, and it's a really good read, and it does have some weird... I don't like the finale, but before then, it's really good. So if you guys are interested in that, we can do that. I don't know if you guys really have a preference one way or another. Marcus, any final thoughts?
No, that would be for the series post Boys, right?
Yes, that would be what we would do after we finish The Boys, which might come in a week or two.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, that would be. Oh, by the way, that is one of the most disturbing videos.
Right?
Like even out of like just sitting by itself outside of how they showed it in Dark Side of the Ring, like this. The level of excitement, like this might be his version of porn.
I mean, it's hard to say you're wrong. Honestly. By the by, for the last 10 minutes or so, I have a photo of Kermit, Animal, and Gonzo skateboarding on the backdrop of our podcast. I feel like that's us. Marcus is obviously Kermit. He lives down south near the swamps. He's a very wholesome young man. Zach is clearly Gonzo. He's got his own little style about him that works like that, and Zach knows what's up with his face.
I was waiting for it.
And obviously, I'm Animal because I'm a bit of a psychopath who can't be controlled and clearly don't listen to others when they tell me to stop. Plus, I love going, yeah, Animal. It's a lot of fun. I also love that they got like the late 80s plastic skateboards, like, the ones that Toys R Us had. Not real skateboards, but the ones you can give your kids and they won't actually be able to do any tricks with them. That's what they're using. Oh, it's fantastic. I love it. What a great photo. All right, so anything else? No? Yes? Maybe? No? Okay.
Nope.
No.
Zach, would you like to be a part of the Boys finale?
Probably not.
Fair enough. So if we finish it next week, we finish it next week then. Let me see.
Okay.
Boys Wiki. let's see what we
I mean,
got.
we're on issue 60, I think, and there's 72 issues.
But there might be another miniseries, so I just want to. So we got 60 to 65, 66 to 71, and 72. Plus, we also have a new limited series called Dear Becky, which was supposed to come out this month. So we'll see if that actually ends up coming. So, Marcus, we can finish it next week. 60 to 65 is the big break in the story. And then 66 to 72 are kind of the last bits of what's going on around them. So we can finish all 12 issues next week, Marcus, or we can split them up 6 and 6.
And we can do 6 and 6.
Okay, so Zach, you will be joining us then for the Bloody Doors Off.
Well, there you go.
The Bloody Doors Off, and You Found Me. So next week we will cover Over the Hill with the Swords of 1,000 Men. And yeah, then after next week, so what is that going to be? Next week we got 6. So on the 30th, we will start reading Why the Last Man as our comic review. Why the Last Man is probably as long. It might be a little bit longer. So I would ask both of you gentlemen to read the first issue soon and let me know if it is engaging enough for us to do. Otherwise, we can and will look for a new book before we get to the official review. But if we get to the 30th and you all haven't told me that you hate it yet, well, that's on you. You have your opportunity to veto this. So with all that being said, though, I guess we're done. You can find us on the website at realnerdcorp.com, RealNerdCorp.com. We're on Twitch at twitch.tv/Comic and GameCorp. Search for that on YouTube if you prefer to listen to our videos on YouTube while you're cleaning your house. We're also on Podbean. If you want to download us and take us on the go, you can do so by going to realnerdcorp.podbean.com and downloading the show straight to your laptop or mobile device or computer. Or you can go and download the Podbean app. So that way you can download it straight to your mobile device, but you need the app, so you got to download the app, and you can download the shows. All of our shows for the past 2 or 3 years are up on there, so you have plenty of content to listen to. Granted, it's not high-quality content, but it's still content, damn it. So check it out. Marcus, you can be found on Twitter at ParadoxKid, ParadoxKid.
That's me.
You can also find him on... That's Paradox Kid, by the way. You can also find him on his other podcast, The True Penny Show, at True Penny Show on Twitter, TruePennyShow. Go check them out there. Thackeray, you are on Instagram and the DeviantArt at Radiance2020, RADIANCE2020. That's RADIANCE2020. That's Radiance2020. Go follow him there as he continues to compile his work for his little mini indie internet comic that he's working on. If it ever comes to fruition, will be one thing. But he's got a lot of concept art, so that's cool.
Yes, and I am working on pages. It's happening.
Still hasn't asked me to help write. I am not saying he's a dummy for not using my creative talents. I'm just saying he's a dummy for not using my creative talents.
It's already written.
I'm looking forward to reading it because I can't wait to criticize it if it's bad. Zach, this is terrible. There's not one Bane joke in this. You have sorcerer's magic. You thought this gave you power over me? All right. Swisher and I will probably not be on tomorrow night because he has yet to get back to me about which show he wants to review. So that makes me think that he hasn't reviewed any of the shows yet. So we probably won't have a show tomorrow, but we might. If we do, it'll be right here on Comic and GameCorp on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Comic and GameCorp. You can also find us on our other podcasts and internets at Wrestling Underground at twitch.tv/Wrestling Underground and youtube.com/The Wrestling Underground. And, of course, all podcasts, articles, columns, our woman crushes, and whatnot can be found on the website at realnerdcorp.com. I went with someone whose name I have now forgotten because I did it like 4 a.m. yesterday morning. I don't remember days. But it's there. It's up. We did it. Hooray. I don't know who it is. Damn it. And it's not someone like hard to remember either. I'm going to the website now because I need to look it up. It's Sarah Hyland of Modern Family. That's hers. And the rest of the week is Drew McIntyre. And our video game from last week that we reviewed was Freedom Finger. So, with all that being said, we're done. Have a nice night. With all that being said, Marcus, take us home.
Stay inside me.